Do not underestimate the strength of the little people in Cherokee Nation. They're fierce, brave, and sometimes they can be a little funny.
The Yunwi Tsundsi are a race of small beings that are said to live in the woods of Cherokee Nation. They're made up of 3 tribes, and depending on which one you run into and how you treat them, you may end up getting directions, getting tripped, or getting attacked.
I have some suspicions that there may have been a 4th tribe of Yunwi Tsundsi, and the reason that they're no longer in existence. But I'll get to that story and how they were supposedly killed off at the end.
So let's say you're walking through the woods, and you're paying attention to where you're going, but somehow you still end up tripping. You fall on the ground looking at the tree root that you didn't know was there. You ignore it and you keep walking, and then it happens again, and again. Well, that would mean you've become the butt of a joke by the Laurel Clan. The Laurel Clan of Yunwi Tsundsi is known to be a bunch of pranksters. They'll trip you, lead you astray, and if you manage to talk to one, they'll even give you the wrong directions, all in the name of a good laugh. Overall, they're not the worst clan to run into, but if you're in desperate need, you would probably want to run into the Dogwood Clan. The Dogwood Clan of Yunwi Tsundsi are the ones that are mostly serious. They don't like people that trespass on their lands, but if you're lost or hurt or need help, they would be the ones to take you seriously. They'd give you proper directions, and overall, just give you a helping hand. Now, if you run into them, you want to be sure that you're respectful and thankful for any assistance. And as long as you do that, you'll be good. But the last clan, you just want to try to avoid them entirely. The Rock Clan of Yunwi Tsundsi doesn't joke and doesn't help. They're not your forced friends, and they're not going to join you in your next adventure. They don't like outsiders, and will attack you even if you accidentally insult them. And while they are in fact very little people, that doesn't mean that they are weak. The Rock Clan is a great example of a group of people adapting to their harsh environment by also becoming quite harsh. It's not that they're inherently mean or bad, but I think it's probably because they've had to survive this way. The world outside of the city and suburbs is not as easygoing for those that call the forest home, and this story is actually a testament of how harsh the world can be. The Yunwi Tsundsi may have had more than 3 tribes, and I believe this could be the story of how the 4th clan was wiped out. Also, real quick, I just want to say if you've been enjoying this video, please leave me a like and comment your favorite part. I actually love hearing people get excited about the same stuff as me.
This story goes back to before the Europeans came to call North America home. Actually several thousand years before they even arrived. A group of young Cherokee men had gone out into the world to see what they could find, to see what all it held within it, really. So they made their way south to a tribe of little people. And these people were they were a little oddly shaped. They were so small that they barely made it up to the men's knees. They didn't have houses or teepees or anything of the sort. They actually lived in these little nests scooped out of the sand with dried leaves covering the top. And in fact, at this point, the little people were so frail and weak that they were constantly afraid of these geese and a few other birds that would actually come and attack them. They would prey on them due to their small size and stature. So the Cherokee men showed them how to make weapons and clubs to defeat these geese. And they showed them where they needed to hit them on their necks so that way they would actually make a killing blow. Now they would have showed them how to make bows and arrows, but they just didn't have time. So after they had taught them these skills, Cherokee men were on their way. With the Cherokee men gone, the little people were on their own as a massive flock of geese came down out of the sky. They were so great in numbers that you couldn't take more than a few steps without bumping into one of these birds. The geese ran after the little people as they took shelter in their nests. But as the geese stuck their heads into their homes, the little people used their clubs and struck the birds right on the spot where they were shown by the Cherokee men. They had fought for hours and hours until they finally killed off the majority of the birds. The remaining geese flew off in disappointment, and the little people survived. So the Cherokee had come back throughout the years later to see how their new friends have gone. They heard the stories of the geese, and they would return, but the little people would fight them off over and over. Until one day the Cherokee arrived, and they were all gone. The Cherokee had looked around to try and understand what happened to their little friends, and then they found some feathers. Feathers of a flock of cranes, actually. And see, the cranes, they were too tall for the little people to strike them on their necks, and they wiped them out. But with them having the nests in the sand, the 3 clans of the Yunwi Tsundsi being in the forest and all, this may have been the 4th one, or they could have been the part of the little people that actually survived and retreated into the forests. And maybe that's why they all live separately. They all have different ideas of how they should treat people.
The Rock Clan may be angry with mankind for not being there to help them when they needed it. The Dogwood Clan could be understanding and grateful, but also weary of trusting strangers due to the men's lack of involvement in this battle. And the Laurel Clan may see this story as a way of saying to not take life so seriously and to enjoy every moment, because you never know when it's your final day on this earth. Which would mean if you enjoyed this video, they may want you to enjoy this one here that YouTube thinks you'll like too. I'll see you there.